Africa has a long and established history of winemaking, with vineyards stretching from Algeria to Tanzania. But South Africa is the continent's largest producer, with most of its vineyards in the Western Cape. But that's not where we are today. We're in the heart of Johannesburg, where the Gerakaris Family Wines are offering a unique twist on wine producing in South Africa. So, this is Africa Pulse. I'm Bronwyn Seaborn, and on this episode, it's Bottoms Up. Well, wine producing usually happens in the Western Cape of South Africa, but today we're in the heart of Joburg because Gerakaris Family Wines is turning that on its head. And joining me to discuss that further is the founder, Kath Gerakaris. Kath, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
So most would think we are in the heart of the winelands in Western Cape if they look around us, but we're not. You produce wines here in Johannesburg, so how does that work?
We work with two vineyards in the Western Cape, and between us we decide on the day to pick, and then they're transported up here, literally bunches of grapes in a cold truck overnight, and we then do the whole process here. So it's a fully functioning working winery, as much as you'd have in the Cape, just the bunches of grapes take a little bit of a journey to get up here.
So. Why?
Well, so long story short, married somebody who has his work is here. And when we first got married and we had kids, Ellie and Thomas, we thought, let's make a barrel of wine in the garage for fun. And the logistics worked, and then we thought, well, hold on a second here, maybe we could bring up some more, and then why don't we do this properly as a business? Kind of, why not?
Did people think you were crazy when you started talking about doing this?
No, people didn't understand. There were sort of blank stares. You know, you're opening a wine shop, you mean that, don't you? Or are you going to go down there and make it and then bring up the bottles? They actually didn't even get to the crazy stage. They just didn't comprehend it. No. No.
And were there critics? Were there just people who, maybe thought like, okay, we don't understand, but why are you doing this?
So I think well, they never said it to my face, put it that way. But I think very doubtful that it would work. And critics in terms of, it's going to be edgy, small, boutique-y, kind of homemade wine that's not going to be marketable and maybe drinkable and things like that. So doubting more than critical.
What gave you the courage then to make that step? Because it is kind of a leap of faith to say, we're going to do this. No one else is doing it, but we're going to do it.
So I think a couple of things. There was somebody in London, 15 years ago, there was a company that did it. They brought grapes in from Europe. As you know, I'm a Kiwi, and there, if you have a vineyard or a winery in Marlborough, but you would like to source Pinot Noir from Central Otago, then they're also transported. So in my mind, it is possible. And why not? And the market is here. So again, why not? It's possible.
Why not, Pat?
Why not?
You did mention that you're a Kiwi. You're originally from New Zealand. Mm-hmm. Talk us through that, because you didn't start out doing wines at all. And South Africa was actually supposed to just be a stop on your greater journey, right?
Yeah, so I think like many Kiwis, school, university, travel, part of that, of course, was London. And then I traveled home through Africa and met some friends here, loved Africa, spent a little time in Sodwana Bay, and then eventually went home and tried to then be corporate and go into marketing. I'm very bad at sitting still behind a desk. And I then I looked around for other opportunities, and I thought, let me go and do a postgrad diploma at Lincoln University, which was then our university for winemaking and viticulture. Worst case, I can then combine the two, the business and the marketing within the wine industry. But I loved it. And then I had a great idea. Let me come to South Africa, do a 6-week harvest, as one does, to get experience. And I kind of stayed on and didn't quite go home again. For a few years, I had some amazing work and opportunities in the Cape, and then met my now husband, then moved to Johannesburg, and here we are.
And here we are
Yeah.
today. A lot of people sitting in corporates at the moment thinking, oh, they'd love to follow a dream. For those people, what do you suggest? Is it possible? Is it a dream that has to work? Because at the end of the day, while it might be a dream, you still want it to work out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have financial security. I did it when I was early 30s, so I wasn't young. But my advice is that life is too short. One has to enjoy your life, and there's got to be a balance, absolutely, again, between the financial and the love, but life is too short to, if you can, to not take an opportunity that's interesting.
And thankfully it did pay it off,
Yeah.
and we sit here today. So
Yeah.
let's take a little bit closer look at the business. When you first set off, you said, you'd started this in your garage and kind of built on from that. Was the goal to sell to bottle stores? Was the goal to open something like you have today? How did your vision change then over time from initially what you set out to do?
So we made a barrel of wine when the kids were tiny at home. And then when we thought, let's make this commercial, we needed a premises. So that took a long time looking around Johannesburg. Do you go into Kaya Sands Industrial? Do you do something on the side of a street in Parkhurst? We found this spot, and we're incredibly lucky because it does have space. It does have green areas around us. Then you need a license, and that took us 2 years partly because it is such a strange thing to do here, so we had to explain it to the liquor board, get all the licensing. That was a real financial red tape process, because we had to, the license is attached to the premises, so we had to rent this out for functions to be able to pay the rent, to be able to get the license. Then the plan was to make it here. I chose this space solely, there's a gutter down the main room, I chose this solely to make wine, so it suits making wine. We happened to be lucky enough to have the garden, so my idea was that I would be here in the morning, doing wine, doing admin, whatever, and then going out to sell to local restaurants and retailers. And particularly, I say local, I literally mean the local suburbs, because we, with our volume, can't cover Gauteng. We have some perfect restaurant areas around us, so that was my market. Then 1 or 2 people came and they said, we actually quite like sitting in the garden out there. Can we have some more? Can we test some more? Can we stay for a couple of hours? So we hurriedly had to get some tables, and then my vision of a tasting room in the Cape and around the world is often you come in, you sit at a high bar or you sit at a table, you taste the wines. We don't have a kitchen, so then the plan is that you take a case home with you. And that didn't happen either. People stayed longer and longer. So we have ended up completely flipping the plan on its head, not by way of a plan. It happened very organically. People came, they stayed, as I said. So we now have a tasting room from Wednesday through to Sunday. You come, we now provide cheese boards that have beautiful South African boutique cheeseries, which the food that we serve is very important to us, that match the 5 wines. There's Wagyu beef and bowls of olives. So it's very simple, but you can come and spend some time and taste the wines.
So often when we speak to people about starting up businesses and, developing that business, it's all this big focus on growth. Mm-hmm. We want, I'm normally asking about, so what's next? What happens next? Yeah. And yet, in this business at least, growth in that traditional sense is not what you're after, right?
So I have the benefit in my family of my husband works long, hard hours. I still want to be able to, I want to have the flexibility to go and pick the kids up from school. We really like our size because everybody's got their hands messy with winemaking and can tell the stories to people when they come to do the wine tasting. So what I need to do at the moment is diversify markets in terms of we're selling our capacity, and we're very stuck when you make wine. The volumes come in once a year, so that is your volume for the year. We need to diversify slightly into more restaurants in the local areas, but in terms of growth, this is our capacity at the moment. Yeah.
And that not overshadowing anything from a job opportunity or skills perspective. Walk us through some of that you have. How many people are employed here, and how important is upskilling the staff that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a small staff. I've got one manager that runs the tasting room, so when we're open, she runs that. And then dependent on demand, so Saturday, Sunday, we have 3 other people that support her and present the tastings. Often on a Friday, we have 1 extra person. It's very low staff numbers in terms of presentation and the tasting room side of it. From the winemaking side of it, I have a guy that I brought on as a gardener who has now pretty much my assistant winemaker. So we now have the flexibility because he can do the gardens or during harvest be focused completely on the winemaking. And then every year during harvest, and I love this because this happens in the winelands, but it really is strange that it happens here. We have people that are interested in winemaking that will come and help me out for the sort of 6-week harvest period, so they get a taster of it. We've had young people that are close to matric that are thinking of it, they come and get a taster of it. So yes, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing to be able to share your love with other people so that they can upskill and yeah.
Talking about sharing your love, are there succession plans within the family? Because I get that sense. This is really a family business. Are your children perhaps thinking, maybe this is what I can do one day?
So not at the moment. However, they do, if they're here, they check out who's buying their wine, and there's got to be a bit of balance there. But not yet. They're still too young, I think, for that.
Well, you hint at that. They're not maybe ready to take over the business. They're only teenagers, but they are still involved because the wines are named after them, right?
Yes, absolutely. So very much within the context of family wines. The 2 Chenin Blanc are named after my daughter Ellie. So there's a Laiki, who's the young or the little Ellie, and there's Ellie, and then there's Tom and Thomas. So it depends if I'm grumpy with him or not, whether I call him Tom or Thomas.
Right. Well, Kath, on that note, let's leave it there. Thanks so much for your time today.
A great pleasure. Thank you, Brom.
Kath Gerakaris is the founder of Gerakaris Family Wines, and that's where we leave it for this episode of Africa Pulse. But we're back same time, same place next week, so we'll see you then.